John Robertson, psychologist, welcome you all to the Journey 2020. And like we like to say, the journey is from me to you and from you to me. And tonight we have my intrepid co-host that is working all of the mechanics and the electronics, Mr. Charles Morse. So Charles, you want to take it?
Well, each week I'm being titled. So, and each week I say, well, I've been called worse, but yeah, no, but it's all good. Happy to be here. It's we're going to talk about several things in which I'm going to actually ask you some questions that you don't know that I'm going to ask, because this is the time of the holidays. We're talking about stress and different things when it comes to holidays. And some things that I'm going to share with you that you didn't know that I've been dealing with for years because of the holidays and where I go. So I can only imagine for people who probably is in a different position more so than I am. So I would like to get some information. It might be able to help me out. But also we get a chance to talk about those rattlers. Those that, what I guess they ready to strike and strike again. Is that it? Yeah.
As they say, the Wildcats got it.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. We get ready, and we also will make reference to the Florida Classic, which is one of the big major events here in the area.
Exactly.
Okay. There you go. Back.
To those listening, either in the north or out of the country, the Rattlers and Wildcats that we were referring to are the Rattlers of Florida A&M University, and the Wildcats are the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman University. Just to those of you who may have gone to Bethune-Cookman when it was a college, it is now a university. So y'all can be proud Wildcats. And I know that they're going to prevail, so we don't have to worry about the outcome of the score.
Well, I guess maybe we should talk about whether or not there's any rattlers in the house. No rattlers. No rattlers. No. Okay. Well, then I guess we can cut that snake head off. Then.
and also that the stress level should be a whole lot less, as we're talking about stress tonight.
Okay, so what's one of the main topics that you want to talk about this evening?
Well, what I like to do, Charles, is to just because we have an expert panel, and I don't say that lightly tonight, and I just would like to introduce them so our viewing audience knows who they are. And we have a returning guest, and I have to say friend, Ms. Gail Gardner, who in addition to being an author with one book out and another one on its way, is also an advocate, a minister, and someone who is a champion of women's rights. Beside her is another friend, Miss Cora Miles Jefferson, who's sitting in the middle in our comfy couch. And Cora, we are particularly pleased because she is a radio host on a local gospel station, 1140 Rejoice, and they didn't pay me to say that, and also a community advocate who works with consumers' rights, and financial literacy. And we were very pleased to have her. And to my left, the lady in red, is Dr. Sidel Legrand, MD. And Dr. Legrand is someone who, in addition to doing pain management in her medical practice, is also an expert on stress and stress's outcomes. So with that, I'd like to start our panel off with asking, we're coming up on Thanksgiving. And many people think of Thanksgiving as a day that we're supposed to give thanks. But as we know, many in our community are not particularly feeling thankful or are under quite a bit of stress. And so I'd like to start a panel off and just asking, with such things as unemployment being high, for many of us, bills not being able to be paid, some of us not having jobs, or those who have jobs working long hours, what do we really have to give thanks for? So anybody in the panel can take that.
Well, I'll start off, Dr. Robertson. First of all, thank you for having me on the show this evening. I just want you to know I made the shift. I made the switch.
Okay.
I'm WOKB 16.
Oh,
AM
okay.
Every Wednesday at 1 p.m. the 411. And certainly, and that's how the birthing of the 411 is, to share information with the community, to help them, empower them, inspire them. And certainly with this Thanksgiving, and I know that for a lot of people, because we reach out to these individuals and we're dealing with them, they're hurting, they're thinking there's no hope. But in all things, you should give thanks, because God is always up to something. He's up to something. So sometimes we're in a situation where we may lose our job, we may lose our home, we may lose a loved one, we may lose our spouses, but God is up to something. So we have to really just, I always say, just keep it in the road, stay faithful, stay focused, because He has a plan.
No. Okay. Now, this is when I'm going to try to come into the mix here. For myself, because most of what I remember as a child, from my mother to my aunt to my grandmother, for all those that was part of my childhood, as I think of Thanksgiving, they are all now gone. And because my family is probably like this when it comes to the memories of what I shared, looking forward to the holidays. Now, I thank God that I am at a place where I'm thankful that He wakes me up, and I appreciate the blessings every day. But for myself, and I'm much better at it now, but let's just say, and I've never been like extremely, depressed about it, but there's times when you are depressed. But the place where you go, for an example, there's friends who want to share times, during Thanksgiving, and they will say something in reference to, I remember a girlfriend, and when she said it, she looked at her mom, and we was in Memphis, Tennessee, and she said something about my mother, and my mother had passed. And so her mother said, well, you know what, I'll be your mother on Thanksgiving. And she turned around, she said, Mom, don't say that. She meant well, of course. But for a long time, I knew I was not good company. And I purposely was trying not to be in company for no other reason than my little safe haven was to go somewhere where I could remember just be with my family mentally and emotionally. Now, years later, I'm better, but I still know that in actuality, I'm really not good company for no other reason than I'm just kind of quiet and just kind of, kind of laid back, and I'm trying to be more sociable because I'm more conscious of it now.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, at that time of the year, it's just something about that family that is no longer there. You missing your mom, and you're just thinking about the something about that cranberry sauce and that dressing, and knowing that I would never have my mother's potato salad ever again, and all those little things that you didn't think was so, that was significant is so significant that potato salad is just like I'll never have it again. It was like she made it special for me when I would come home, and it's just little things like that.
Exactly.
And doing Christmas time and doing the Black Eyed Peas for New Year's.
Yes, exactly.
And just little things like that, and so. And I don't know whether or not you counsel people or when you talk to people and how you do, because everybody's on a different level.
Right.
So I know for myself, it's a wonderful time, but it's not a wonderful time.
I'm glad you raised that, because the often I have to call it the hype that we get from a lot of the media is that this being this happy time. I know some of us will start watching what is that? It's a Wonderful Life on TV very early, or what is that other one? The little guy with the Red Ryder BB gun.
Right, right. Well,
You know.
well, there's always the little. I mean, all of the. I mean, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right.
Well, I mean, come on, I mean, Frosty the
Exactly.
Snowman.
Right,
and all
exactly.
those things that you see doing Christmas
Right,
time,
right, right.
you know, remind you of a little kid, and all the things that and that's one of the things in which we really don't think about, in the sense of the fact that when you talk about how we commercialize it, well, we're going to do that in America. But when you don't have somebody to really help you understand what it's about, so
Yeah.
because we're naturally wired that way, God made us that way, because when you're sitting down at the table, that's family, that's
Right.
love. And so you really understand that. That's part of the feeling, the love,
Exactly.
the acceptance, that
Exactly.
family love, and then that's what we thrive for.
Thrive for.
Right, in
I'm,
life.
I'm going to ask Pastor Gardner, because a lot of what I know that you focused in on, both in your book and as you talked on our program, the aspect of the need, for love, and I think that's very important as we're talking about dealing with the holidays and the stresses and those kind of things. So would you?
I'm thinking, when I think of holidays, when I think of, yes, coming together with people, I think about relationships. And God is about relationships. So when we're missing that piece, it's a very intricate, let's say a very necessary part of our lives, and sometimes we can kind of brush it away, but it never really goes away. So then you have these things in you that are taking place that really need an outlet in order to express yourself, especially during the holidays. So when you don't have that one or that family connection that you really need or you miss, it says something to you. I encourage people. I have people as a pastoral counselor, when I have people come to my office, I counsel them. Lately, I've been getting a lot of women who are bereaved. They are actually suffering with a loss, and usually a family loss or something. And so what I'm dealing with now is some of this is the mother or the oldest sister, is that being able to build those traditions for the family, take over that tradition. You may not be the oldest, but if you start a tradition where we start off with a few, whatever, until we find out that we come together at that time, because you can never go back and get that piece. But the memories is what's going to bring you forward, and just begin. Oh no, it's not going to be like Grandma did it. It's not going to be like Aunt. And I think that's where people get lost. They want it to be just like Mama did it. It's not going to be that. You have to build your own relationships, your own traditions within your family. I even encourage a family member of mine. I said, why don't you make every year go to the islands? Or you just go to the islands, take a cruise for Thanksgiving. There's nothing wrong with that. We're in a different society. Everybody doesn't have to be hanging around the table singing Kumbaya. Get on a ship. This is what we do, and we say from one year to the next, make it a tradition. Take the grad and whoever be able to pay on that for the rest of the year. Next year, we're on a cruise. That's when we're gonna have Thanksgiving in the islands. It's different, but everyone will get used to it who's going to be involved. So I think it's very necessary that we build our own traditions.
Right.
We keep the memories, and but it's time to move on, and not just to be a survivor, but a thriver. That's my terminology.
All right.
Not just to survive, but to thrive.
To thrive.
Move forward.
Okay.
And if you don't, then you're stuck.
Exactly.
Back to that word stuckness.
Right.
You're stuck there.
Exactly.
And you really can't move forward. So it takes a little bit. It's not easy to get people to think in that mode. My sister and I'm not cooking this year. For the last couple of years, I haven't cooked. But when I lost my mother, my sister and I were on Thanksgiving Eve on the phone trying to remember how she made stuff, And that was our conversation. She's in New York, and so we would converse back and forth. So
Oh,
where did she put it? And we enjoyed it. Then
That's
the
a
family would
wonderful,
be-
yeah.
Then when she would come down, we both be in the kitchen. That's great. So this year, I'm starting a new tradition. I'm going to travel and eat with some of those relatives. I gotta.
Oh,
And,
okay.
my youngest just moved to Atlanta. You just got to be able to. You got to do it. Otherwise, you're stuck in a place. The stress, the memories, the hurt, the pain. We got to move forward. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, make yourself.
One of the things, as you were mentioning, setting new traditions, and I know you were mentioning, let's say, getting out and getting to the islands, and I know some of our listeners, who their economics are a little shaky, may say, well, I don't have no money to get on the cruise. But one of the things that, and I'm thinking back to when I lived in New York, and that is just taking the subway down to Rockefeller Center, and being able to just get out, look at the Christmas tree, being able to walk around, in that atmosphere. And I remember that just being a really heartfelt kind of experience. And so it doesn't have to, cost a lot, but, something that is going to be meaningful that you do,
As a young adult, I remember in New York, Grandma's house was Thanksgiving. And I remember my mother dropping us off at Madison Square Garden, me and my siblings, to the first Jackson 5 concert, But then every year after Thanksgiving, that's what we did. We went and did something special.
Right.
And it doesn't take a whole lot. You're right, Doctor.
Exactly. One of the things I wanted to just go over to Dr. LeGrand for a little bit, because as we're talking about the impact of stress, I wanted to ask Dr. LeGrand a little bit, because a lot of people may not understand what stress really is and what it does. So, Dr. LeGrand, could you just talk about that a bit?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, stress and chronic stress is actually leads into disease processes, because what we tend not to realize is that we are spirit, soul, and body, and that our body and what happens to us physically is not just about what's happening to us physically. Our spirit is eternal. We've always been a spirit. Our soul is our mind, our intellect, our thought process, our emotions, and it's in that soulish realm that most of our stress occurs. It's in that place where we've been hurt at some point in our lives as children. It's in that place where we have been impacted negatively, and it causes us to either have fear, have anger, have unforgiveness, and all three of those I would consider the major root cause of chronic stress. Those three: fear, which is usually false evidence appearing real. Anger is often associated with things that happen to us as children that we really don't know how to process. Molestation, having been left behind, divorces with our parents, all kinds of things that happens to us. And so stress, and now you're talking about the holidays, everything that has ever been a stressor in your life at the holidays is exaggerated. It's blown up. It's worsened because it's the time when you just mentioned that people want to be in love relationships. They desire to be with family, desire to be with whomever they love, and when they don't have that and they see others with it, it becomes a stressor. Your body responds to stress in interesting ways. Chronic stress particularly causes a problem with a hormone in your system called cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that is secreted by the adrenal glands, which are little glands over your kidneys. It's a great hormone when you need it. When something urgent happens to you and you need some immediate energy, that cortisol is shot into your bloodstream. A mother who watched her child get crushed under a car. The car was up on a jack. Someone was working on the car. The jack fell. The child was under there. A 100-pound woman was able to lift the car up to get her child under. That's from a surge of cortisol that entered into her body. Well, that cortisol is good for those kinds of things, but it's not good if you continually have that particular hormone coursing through your veins, because what it does is that it causes your blood pressure to elevate. It causes your heart rate to increase. It causes things that you don't want to happen in your body, and it leads to problems like high blood pressure, diabetes, easy getting colds. Your immune system is affected. So chronic stress can be devastating to the human body. And so I think that this time of year just adds to it, but a remedy to it is understanding the root of it.
That's right.
You know, understanding what is the root cause of the way I'm feeling. You know, why am I so angry all the time?
That's right.
You know, what is going on inside of me? What is this unresolved conflict that I haven't dealt with? And I think that when you start dealing with those root causes, then this time of year won't be so depressing and won't be so uncomfortable, because you'll be able to do some of the things you just suggested. But when you have this unresolved conflict and when you're so burdened and you have such a hard time just getting up in the morning, you can't think about things like that. You can't even consider getting on a subway, going to Rockefeller Center, or you know, going on a cruise. Those things are not even seeming to be possible.
This is what I want to add to that. A lot of times when people come to me, they're coming for one thing. By the time we get through 2 or 3 visits, there's something deeper. And it's a lot of times it's a traumatic experience that the anger is coming from something way down deeper than that. And you're right, you can't go forward. You can't do any of those things until you deal and get an understanding of what's going on with you and how do I cope with it? How do I move on from here? And yes, I agree with you. It's definitely something. Suggestions for those come when we have dealt with some things. And I'm finding about 2 or 3 visits by the time I'm looking at something a lot worse than would normally be the case. And people don't really realize that that's what's going on with them. I agree with you, Doctor.
And I would also say that I would say 90% of the time, the people that you counsel, the people that we counsel, 90% of the time, unforgiveness is one of the. If we choose to forgive, if we choose to use the power of God to forgive, that releases us from being bound. Because most of our pain is directly related to something somebody did to us, or our perception of what someone did to us. And we hold on to that anger, we hold on to that bitterness, we hold on to that unforgiveness, and it literally makes us sick.
That's right. And with that, a lot of my, well, I say a lot, but most of my clients with women is about sexual abuse and domestic violence. And one thing I try to teach them is, depending, especially with the sin, we talked last week about the sin against the person is the worst sin, is the most damaging sin. And we're talking about unforgiveness, but we're trying to forgive. Forgiveness is a process. I can easily forgive you for doing something to me, but when it's against my person or something that's over and over again, now we're talking about a deeper root. So of bitterness, of anger. And so forgiveness, I try to get them to realize that it comes in stages, and there's some things you may never be able to address with other people, but you have to first forgive yourself, because a lot of that is inner anger and bitterness towards you when it's maybe not been you. But sin itself, and I bring this up because there's a connection between sin and grace. The person who has sinned against you, or who has done some harm against you in some manner, is going to, it's more so now about you not taking on the attitude that goes along with that. There's some things that you begin to do that becomes sin. So we have to get people to understand that there's grace, and God is gracious, and He lets us know that He's waiting for us to get to that point. But it's a process, and you have to start going through that process in order to be able to connect with that grace. Otherwise, you find yourself not moving forward. I'm big on moving forward. I've been there. I've been a sexual abuse victim. I've been a rape victim. I understand, and when I began to get an understanding of what was going on with me, because the blockage was there, couldn't go beyond. It's that forgiveness that takes it. And you say, I forgive, and you're fine, and then a few little way later, just that button pushes, you bring those things in. So it's a process. Yes, Doctor.
One of the things that I wanted to add in, as we talk about the sins against the self, at times for some of the same reasons, Pastor Gardner, that individuals will keep the anger, the unforgiveness, the chronic stress, etc., are based on some unrealistic, kinds of expectations, And one of the things I wanted to ask Cora to address is that often during this holiday time, as we think about stress, many people put stresses on themselves by often overspending.
Yeah.
And I came across a statistic as I was looking at some material that from the American Psychological Association, saying that over 69% of individuals wind up overspending during the holidays, but only about a fraction of them will even admit that they have overspent. And I'm wondering if you've seen that with the various consumers that you have dealt with.
Absolutely, Dr. Robinson. And if I can be transparent, I've seen it myself.
Okay. As they say, we keep it real on the journey.
Well, let's keep it real. Because I came to a realization, I have to say I am a shopper. I even at Christmas time, just want to buy gifts for everybody, all of my family, my friends. And when you get to that point that you don't have the resources, the funds that you used to have, and situations that you learn that, you know what, I can't do this. The real reason for this season, we just really got to get into that and know why we're here, and the fact that we're still alive and we're celebrating those that celebrate Jesus Christ's birthday. I'm telling you, you get to a point that you say, you know what, as my mama would say, she's 92 years old right now today, she would say, even if you could just get me a little handkerchief, you don't have to get me a whole lot. That means that she just appreciates just a little. Don't have to be a dozen roses, just one rose. So if we can get to that point that we're not going to be able to, and then when you go out, you're doing all of this spending, and you're coming back, and come January, and you think about, I can spend now and get my tax return in January, and the dollars will go. You're setting yourself up where you have to get to a point that you're allowing yourself financially to put yourself on a budget, love on everybody, and you're just not going to be able to give everybody a gift, because everybody else will be happy and their bills are paid and your bills not paid, and you struggling.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Let me give you a guy's perspective.
Yes, Charles.
Okay, let me give you a guy perspective.
All right.
Dr. Robinson, you probably can help me out here.
All right.
What you may find a lot of times for, let's just say, fathers, even boyfriends, husbands, they may go, which is so funny, because out of the 365 days out of the year, they're kind of judged maybe about 4 days out of the year. Okay, now seriously, because they will provide and have a roof over your head. And I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying in general. And then comes that day of Christmas or Valentine's or whatever it is, and can't quite get that whatever special gift that person feels that should be that day. And the type of pressure that puts on him, let alone cannot buy all the kids the nice toys and the things that he wish that he could buy.
Right.
But throughout the year, he has provided a roof over their head and clothes to wear and food to eat. But he can't extend to get the special gifts, and how that makes him feel. Right. Unfortunately, when the person who he's with does not quite understand what you just said. And into a world in which you didn't give me what but that's a lot of pressure.
But it's not that I want to put pressure on them, but here's the thing.
no.
But how about using what you got?
No. I was talking about what you was making reference to with what your
Right.
mother was saying.
Right.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Use what you got.
Right.
Don't have
right.
to be big
Right.
stuff.
So that's what I'm saying. When the woman doesn't have the mentality of your mom, is what I was saying.
Right.
When the pressure is on, and now he wants to feel like the man of the house. He wants to feel as if though he is a good father. He wants to feel he is a good husband. Women have no idea how much pressure that is.
Like
I'm
But
serious.
can I say it does make a difference on the mate that you have?
Well, that
Because
was
some mates
that
won't
was
even
my
care.
point. That
Okay.
that was my point. It's
Yes.
why I said what I
You
said.
just love on them regardless of what.
Right,
If it's a
right.
one rose they come home with, you just love them to death with that one rose.
And you know,
That's
that's
it.
something
It's
you
a
do
thought.
all year long. I mean, if you wait till just holiday times to do
Exactly.
things for people, that's the mentality they have. It's about training.
But-
Yeah.
Oh,
They
But-
gotta
it's
be
about
you
care.
saying they gotta be
Foundation.
trained.
Well, when I
But-
say
Exactly.
that, listen to me now.
Well,
If
well,
the
let me
relationship-
let me
So-
just.
If the relationship started off
It's
with
starting
you
something.
doing things just like that, then that's what's going to happen.
Well, let me
If
jump in.
relationship
Let me jump in for a
started-
second. Okay, and I think we're on the right track. We definitely on the right
Charles
track.
set this
okay.
off.
Now, okay.
That's self-induced stress.
And Dr. LeGrand wanted to jump in a second. Let me just let her jump in. Go ahead.
What I was saying is that the foundation that a relationship was built on
That's right.
is what matters.
That's what
And
it
if you are in a relationship that you have allowed that kind of mentality, that you've connected with someone who has that kind of mentality, then you don't have a choice but follow through with it. But the first thing is don't get connected with anybody with that with that mentality.
Now, wait a minute.
I'm saying,
Now you know. No, because you know when you're young and you get married, you change. I mean, you mature. Some of us don't reach that level, and that's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Let me give you the sentence.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on a second. At 18 or 21,
Right.
it's this is what I hear the women say, honey, it doesn't matter what you give me, and I just want to be here with you. Okay. At 30, it is, it would be really nice, if at 40, it's, I thought we were going to go on the cruise, okay? At 50, it may be something else. So part of what I'm saying is at times in relationships, and I agree that the basis is important, but at times expectations change, okay? And so with individuals who start out in one way, we're in, let's say, sitting around with peanut butter and jelly and Thanksgiving may have been acceptable at 18 or 21. It certainly is not going to be acceptable for most folks at 35 or 45 or 55.
But the purpose of, and one of the main reasons why I said what I said, and when I'm talking about the pressure and what that feels like as a man, and what I mean by that is, both of them could have been very successful, and then something happens, like the economy of something like that, and that one Christmas, just that one Christmas,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying?
No, it's the relationship that matters.
But I'm just talking about the pressure and how he feels is what I'm talking
He
about.
shouldn't.
Well, what about
And I
the
think-
woman, how she feels?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a learning process.
Right. Well,
I just want
but
you
the
know.
but
Okay,
but
go ahead.
but
You know,
what I'm saying.
you know the date.
No,
you putting that stress
Okay.
on yourself when the
Exactly.
woman may say, "Listen, I'm just glad to
No,
be here with you. Let's
no,
just
no,
hang
no.
out. Let's
That's
just
not-
sit and
no.
watch television.
That's not-
Let's
no.
eat the
That's
peanut
not
butter and
what-
jelly
But then,
sandwiches
but then let it
together."
be a teachable
See,
moment,
see,
because in
see,
relationships things
you're
like
not
that
hearing
have
what
to
I'm
happen.
saying.
No,
he's feeling that way because of the pressure from her.
then you got to make that a teachable moment. You need to.
I got that.
Yeah.
I understand that. See,
She will too when you don't do what she's expecting you to do,
You hit the
and then you
doctor.
sit there, and then you sit her. Listen, this is a marriage. You sit down one to
That's
one.
not what I'm. See, you.
Okay,
What?
let me
Help me. Help me.
I don't know.
heard
Listen,
someone
this
say
might
don't
this might get you
learn.
this might get you in deeper. But I think that one, and as they say, I'm going to go into the race card now. Okay.
Uh-oh.
For black men, often because our both economic, if you want to call it egos, are at times very fragile.
Well,
Because we have, at times, as Charles said, may have made it to a certain degree, okay? And then our economic status may change.
Right.
So, therefore, the expectation, again, with the good woman that we are married to, etc., that the woman may well understand that the economics has changed. However, much of our definitions of being a man in this society depends on, or is believed to depend on, our ability to literally bring home the bacon.
Right.
Okay, and often when that happens, and I do understand, we have some women that are on our panel who have been through the fire, been through the storm, and understand. But many of our, and I want to say our younger generation, who have not had some of the hardships and who have not had to sit and eat peanut butter and jelly with their spouse, will listen to the media or the commercials or listen to Days of Our Lives or whatever, and expect that man who is not able to bring home the bacon may then begin to look at him a little differently. Now that's one part of it. The man, the brother, who has been used to bringing home the bacon, who no longer can, may not feel psychologically that sense of well-being, because what has not been the foundation of the relationship, but has enhanced the relationship, may not be there again. And during that time, that male may feel extremely vulnerable, so that the Christmas gift, which he can't buy, the kind of Xbox or whatever for the children that he may not be able to afford, in that inability can be either the seeds of destruction of the relationship, or can be the seeds of a real growth and healing in the relationship. And so that crux, that crossroads, gets to be very important for both parties to understand, because you can either heal or you can begin the destruction. Okay, I'd like our panel to just, or Charles. Okay, go ahead, because I see you.
No, I was laughing earlier because I went back to when I was younger, like in college, and I was thinking about some of my friends because of the status of the girl that you like, and because you liked her, So in a way, I guess the guys kind of felt like they were out of their league, but they had the girlfriend. Okay, so what they would do, which you probably know, is that during Christmas time, you purposely break up a fight so you not together. Because
it's called cheat.
Well, that was because they knew that for the type of girl and what they wanted, they couldn't afford it. Now they would want to buy a gift, but they couldn't buy the gift that they know that the girl would like. So something that would be simple.
That she assumed the girl would like.
Well, trust me, you know what you're dating. So you break up, this is when you're like 19, 20 years old, and then after Christmas you try to make up again, because they're like, well, then you go like, oh, Valentine's Day coming up.
They're still doing that now.
Right.
It'll be 19, 20 years old.
That's bad.
I heard someone say today that women want to change men, but men want women to stay the same. And I was so impressed by that, and I thought about it. I said, that's the truth. we look for him, to improve and to be better and want to mold him the way we want. And I say we, but I'm beyond that age group now. My thing is dinner and a movie and I'm happy. But just being able to change that. But men don't want, please don't, change from what you've been doing, because when that happens, then there's a lot of issues. So if you go into the relationship, with that mindset that she's never going to change, then you need to recognize the fact that you're going to have to pay up.
Remember we always talk about a show and a show?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. This is another show. You're right there. Exactly.
Because that's a whole nother thing, in the sense that when one of the first things is that he wants the mother. So when you stop being the mother, there's a problem. Especially if you grew up that way, in the sense of you started out young and then you grow, and then as you start to mature, he will find out as you start to mature as a woman and become yourself and your own. Trust me, he will know.
Exactly.
He will know. But he does want to hold on to that. Yeah, of course he does.
One of the things I also want like a panel to just touch on, etc., as another source of stress, is that many of us have to go to family gatherings during the holidays. And for some of us, it's a source of tremendous joy and getting back together again. But there's always that relative that, the uncle that you can't stand, who is always getting high or drunk or telling everybody's business. And it's going to talk about when you peed your bed, when you were 9 years old, and now you're 59.
Right. Well,
okay.
Well, Cora started laughing, so she already got somebody in mind. So go ahead, Cora.
Well, Charles, I just, I'm never gonna grow up to my family, because I was kind of a rough kid. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really bother anybody, but when they bothered me, but I used to do little mischievous things. Like, my uncle used to come over to the house all the time, and he'd just come and just sleep. I would stuff paper in his mouth. I had to ask God to forgive me. But then, one time, my sisters always tease me now. They said I got the gun at them and stuff like that. I said, no, I did not. I did not. But I think I did run my brother around the well, with the gun. So, but they never let me grow up. They remind me, and they can't believe the woman that I've grown to be. So I've changed. If nobody messes with me, but I've changed. But I'm just thankful that I have a loving family, and that one uncle that always that he wasn't the one that he wasn't a problem. We knew that when he come, he's got his little drink and everything at the family reunion, but he was our most.
Everybody has one.
He was our most loved uncle. He's gone to be with the Lord now, but he's really missed. So but I'm better now as a result. But they won't let me forget that. They have to remind me. Sometimes people won't let you forget your past.
Right.
And so I'm good. I'm good. I won't mess with anybody now.
Okay.
Well,
yeah. Listen.
Some reason y'all don't seem to believe that.
I know the story said you're all right just as long as nobody messes with you. So I suspect that rebellious teenager, if somebody really messed with you, might still be in there somewhere.
Let's put it this way. Oh, well, we'll leave it right there.
Okay.
We pray for them now.
That sounds good.
As mothers, I'm asking, how did you handle Santa Claus with the kids? How did you handle that? I mean, was it Santa Claus? Did you play into
never.
it? Okay.
My family
Never.
But I didn't. Well, no, let me take that back. I told them eventually. They were mad with me. They were like,
my kids never
accepted that. It was a big deal.
Well, I did, because I guess I kind of grew up that way. We always, my mom cooked all the cakes and everything, and then Santa Claus is supposed to be coming down the chimney in the
Right.
fireplace and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was looking for Santa, but Santa was like my brother, my oldest brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I did, you know.
You know, as a kid, it was very confusing for me. You know, because you know, you watch Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman, and you sit there and they tell you where Santa is during the night. You know, they giving you the location and how far away he is and how many houses he's going to. And you sit there as a kid and you're trying to go to sleep and you're trying to follow Santa Claus. But what really messed me up as a kid was my letter that I wrote to him. Okay, they had me write a letter and set it out so when he came, he would take my letter and read it and take it back with him. Unfortunately, 2 days later, when I saw it in the garbage can, I did not know how to take that. You know, because you're doing the from all the wrappings and you going putting in the trash, and I looked in the trash and saw my letter, and it was so confusing to me. I'm like, Santa Claus didn't take my letter.
Right. So you got a reject from Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's something when Santa Claus tells you that.
You know, I'm like, I didn't understand that for a long time because I was standing there scratching my head. You know.
Exactly.
Charles, I can, and let me clarify something. My kids, when I told them that there was a circus, they were really upset. Okay, but the thing that was so fun, and it was a big deal from generation to generation in my family. My grandmother did the whole thing. My mother, you know. The one thing I recall is when I told them, it was because I was going through my Black Power days.
Oh, okay. I think most of us have
But
gone
see,
through
he could
something.
have been a black
Afro
Santa
or
Claus.
puff-
He
you
could have
know,
been a black Santa Claus, but
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going through my militant days.
Or even
and
better.
we just didn't deal
Right.
with a little white man coming down.
Right.
You know?
Or
And so
even,
my kids were
right.
like, what?
That's it. Or Pastor Gardner, or even better. Now you know Santa Claus don't come in this neighborhood.
There you go. And I mean, in my all my Black Power regalia and dashiki and all. That's not what, you know. Oh no! So my kids were kind of upset with me for spoiling that for them. At least the two oldest ones. The youngest one was born many years later. And so by that time I was in the church, and so we understood what this was.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you, as you mentioning Black Power, etc. Now, I always have had a problem with this day after Thanksgiving being called Black Friday. Okay, and Charles, when you talk about confusion, you know, I was confused. Now I said, well, now, why is it got to be Black Friday? And I said, they, you know, honoring anybody black. There is, you know, and a friend of mine had to disabuse me and said, well, it's an accounting term, you know, it's when you're in the black, etc.
That's what it is.
Right. Okay.
They don't want to be in the red.
Right. Exactly. exactly.
That's what
Exactly.
it is.
They know you're going to go shop.
You know, but what I want to ask our panel, there is such a hype, a stress on getting the bargain on Black Friday that has almost become, I want to say, a religion. Now, it's interesting. Some folks have difficulty getting up on Sunday morning to making it to 10 o'clock church service, but they'll get up 3 o'clock in the morning, right in front of Walmart or wherever, you know, and be out there talking about, yeah, you know, I'm the first one in line, you know, and Cora, because you again have dealt with a lot of the thinking around consumers and economics. You know, what is Black Friday really? You know, anything worthwhile?
I'm going to let Charles address that one.
No.
He's waiting.
No, I mean, I'm going to tell you why they call it Black Friday.
Okay.
Because that people are looking for the hookup.
Okay.
That's what it is, right?
Okay.
Because you're going out and you're getting all the bargains, so you're looking for the hookup.
Okay.
But it's funny how we're motivated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are the things that motivate us. Because rarely, I went for the very first time 2 years ago. I've never gotten up ever went. I don't do lines. I'm not good at lines at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that made me go do that at like 3:00 in the morning was there was an iPad. There it is right there.
Okay.
There was an iPad that I had been looking for like 4 months. I was waiting for it to go on sale again because it went on sale. It was like less. It was like it came out at $4.99, and then boom, it went down to like $150. And I was like, man, I want that. So I was waiting, and then I looked, and that night, I was like, I'm going to get it. But other than that, it was like until then. And then when I started looking at some of the bargains, I was like, wow. But it wasn't until 2 years ago that I actually went out and I went shopping, for Black Friday. I was never motivated. I never saw anything that made me go, I will get up or go stand in this line, because I really don't do lines at all.
Okay.
But now it's kind of like I look forward to it.
Okay.
Because there's a family, and they started this because they're on the news every year. And I was just told today, because now they're actually starting Black Friday a week earlier. They started it today. Okay, so somebody said they're gonna start it in the summer now. But this family camps out at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, but for the family, it's not the Best Buy. It's the camping out with the family. So even though they do it, they actually started today.
Wow.
So the family looks for that family time, that they're there in the parking lot at Best Buy, and that's their family time where they get to even bond during this time of the year.
Wow.
So they spend they camp out like 2 days before Black Friday, and that's come like a family tradition now. So they,
Well, that's different. New tradition, huh?
And I think I saw them. They showed on the news a couple of days ago where they have already put up their camping.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They started earlier this year because this year Black Friday is a week earlier now because they actually have started it now.
Well, and that's an interesting cultural phenomenon, I'm going to call it. And I just want to ask our panel
We're
now.
not going out there.
Hold on. Now, right. I was going to say. Now, if you were asked most black folks, now to get together with your family, you're going to have to get up at 1:00 in the morning, pack up all of this stuff, camping gear, and whatnot.
We don't camp.
Oh, okay. Hold up. Okay.
We don't do camping.
Right. Okay. I'm getting there.
We don't even stay over at family's house like we used to and camp out. Lay on the floor. Okay, I'm sorry.
No. I think the point that we're raising,
Some of us.
right? The point that we're raising are apropos, and that we're going to sit out in front of a storefront, okay, in the middle of the night, okay, in a neighborhood more than likely not our neighborhood, okay, and expect that we're going to be well received by the security guards, or the police, or whoever is patrolling in that area. Now, I would ask you, would that be classified in terms of our cultural norms as normal behavior?
Unless it's Walmart.
Unless it's Walmart.
Walmart. Now, Walmart's a different story. You're going to find a lot of us there at Walmart. Camping out, no, but we'll be out there.
Okay.
Sure will.
They call them Walmartians.
Walmart.
Right.
I would say too that when you think of that, believe it or not, those cultures they've started saving. You got to plan for this thing. They've started saving early in the year from last Christmas.
Okay.
They know they're going to be there. They have their money saved. We have to continue to get in position, start saving, budgeting, and planning, so we don't overspend at Christmas time. And who knows, we might have a few more people, of color that might want to go out and camp out. But give me a camper that's enclosed, maybe an RV, or something that I can go and sit in, where I can cook while I'm waiting,
See, you want a tailgate.
My mind is on the classic tailgating.
but we only have about 4 minutes, so can you help us
Oh, my
again?
goodness.
Give us some quick tips again on the stress and kind of help us out, you know, this time of the year.
Right.
You
I'm
know.
gonna ask Dr. LeBrand if she'd start us off on that.
Okay, I think that as we started, we talked about Thanksgiving, and the Word of God tells us that we in all things give thanks. He didn't say for all things, he said in all things. And so that means regardless of what we're going through, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and those who are called according to his purpose. And so I think that any wilderness experience that we're in, God gives us grace in our wilderness. And I believe that the best thing that we can do is not just about this holiday season, but throughout the year, deal with what's upsetting us, deal with those inner conflicts, deal with the things that, those root causes of perhaps some illnesses that we have, mental health issues that we have. Depression is a real problem, particularly among Black people, because we don't go for help. So that's something that, you know, we don't have time to talk about right now. That's a whole show in itself. But I believe my recommendation is to learn to give thanks in all things. Trust God. Know that he got your back. Know that he loves you, and all things will work together for good. And to be able to deal with those root causes, forgive those who've hurt us the most, and move forward with the life that God's given us.
Okay, very good. Okay, Sister Gardner.
I concur. I was thinking when you said it, it's about things we don't get the help we need. My counseling center does that work with pulling together the pastors. We got about 50 pastors we partner with, and psychologists and therapists, including Dr. Robertson. And the one thing is to be that bridge to inform, educate, make the African American community aware that there might be something you need help, you know, in, and it doesn't have to be long term. You know, it may be something not very serious, and at the same time, we have those numbers. The disparity is there, but we want to close that gap, and so getting the help we need in order to move forward is essential. It is the basis. In talking about on all things, give thanks. And that in itself is something that speaks volumes for us, that this time next year things will be different.
Okay, and Sister Cora.
Well, I would just say that God will keep you if you want to be kept. And so seek out counseling, talk to someone. We have experts that are here. Don't do it. You can't do it by yourself, but God gives you the resources necessary to help you.
Very good. And with that, I'm going to also say as a last word, as we come close to Thanksgiving, many of us may not have what we want, but we have life, we have limb, you know, we have the ability to make choices. It is our choice to either be about creation or destruction. If we have that capability that the Lord has given us, then let us choose life. And in life, as the Lord has blessed us, giving thanks is also honoring him or her and honoring ourselves. Like we like to say in the journey is from me to you and from me to you and from you to me also. And with that, Charles, you want to have the last word tonight?
I just want to say, hope that everyone will have a very happy Thanksgiving and blessings to everyone here, and enjoy the holiday.
All right.
Blessings to everyone.
Okay. Happy holidays.